Have you ever heard that quiet voice inside your head? The one that whispers, "You can't do it." The one that says, "Your English isn't good enough." The one that laughs when you dream too big. That voice is not your truth. It's your fear wearing your face. Every time you want to try something new, every time you're about to speak English in front of others, every time you dream of becoming better, that voice appears. It tells you to stop, to stay small, to wait until you're ready. But here's the truth. You will never feel ready until you start. That inner voice doesn't protect you. It limits you. It builds invisible walls between who you are and who you could become. In this episode, we will go deep into your mind, your fear, and your potential. You will learn how to silence that voice of doubt and awaken the powerful, confident version of yourself that's been waiting all along. Because, dear listener, your mind is not your enemy. It's your greatest tool. And when you learn how to control it, you will finally speak, grow, and live with the freedom you deserve. This is not just about English. This is about your life, your belief, and your future. So take a deep breath. Sit with me till the end. Because today, we don't listen to the voice of fear. We train the voice of confidence. Welcome to Fuel for English Life, where we don't just learn English, we learn how to live powerfully, think boldly, and speak fearlessly. Rule 1. Recognize the voice, it's not you. The first step to silencing your inner doubt is to recognize that the voice of fear is not your truth. It's your past speaking. It's the collection of all the times you failed, all the moments people laughed at you, all the times you felt not good enough. Over time, those memories built a small voice in your head that pretends to protect you from pain. But in reality, it stops you from growing. You must understand, that voice is not evil, but it's outdated. It's an old program running in your mind, created when you were younger, when you didn't yet know your power. And now, that voice is trying to keep you in the same place, because comfort feels safe. But safety kills growth. When you start learning English, or chase a new dream, that inner voice whispers things like, "You'll never speak fluently," or "People will laugh at your accent." It's not because you can't, it's because your mind remembers the pain of embarrassment, and it's trying to avoid it again. But you are not that fear anymore. You are stronger, wiser, and capable of writing a new story. You must look at that inner voice and say, "Thank you for trying to protect me, but I don't need you anymore." Let me tell you a story. There was once a young man named Daniel. He loved the English language but never spoke it out loud. Every time he tried, his mind said, "Your pronunciation is terrible." So he stayed quiet for years. But one day, Daniel realized his silence was more painful than his mistakes. He decided to speak even when his voice shook. He talked to foreigners, joined English groups, and faced embarrassment head-on. And every time he spoke, that voice grew weaker. Until one day, it disappeared completely. Not because the fear was gone, but because Daniel stopped listening. That's how you must begin, not by fighting the voice, but by recognizing it. Say to yourself, "This voice is not me. This is fear talking, and I choose not to believe it." Every time you speak English, every time you make a mistake, every time you face discomfort, you are reprogramming your brain. You are teaching your mind that courage is stronger than fear, that growth is louder than doubt. Remember this, awareness is power. You cannot silence what you don't see. The moment you catch that negative voice, you take away its control. You stop being its prisoner and become its master. The first rule of mental freedom is awareness. When you hear the inner critic say, "You can't," you smile and whisper back, "Watch me," because the truth is, that voice isn't your enemy. It's just a scared part of you that forgot how capable you are. And when you remind it with action, confidence begins to rise, and the noise of doubt fades into silence. Rule 2. Rewrite the story in your mind. You are the author. Every time you doubt yourself, it's because your mind is replaying an old story, a story that says, "You're not smart enough, you always fail," or You'll never be good at this. That story was written years ago by people, moments, and experiences that tried to define you before you even discovered who you really are. Maybe it started when a teacher laughed at your English, or when you made a mistake and someone said, "You can't do it." Those words got written deep inside your subconscious mind. And since then, you've been reading the same chapter over and over again. But here's the truth. You are not trapped in that story. You can rewrite it. Every time you take action despite fear, every time you learn one new word, every time you speak one English sentence confidently, you are editing your story. You are the author now. You are no longer the character who is scared of failure. You are the writer who chooses courage. Let me tell you something powerful. Your mind believes whatever you repeat. If you keep saying, "I'm not confident," your mind will make you believe that. But if you start saying, "I am learning, I am improving, I am becoming better every day," your brain starts to accept it as truth. That's how reprogramming works. Words are not just sounds. They are mental commands. Your thoughts build your emotions build your actions, and your actions build your life. So when you change the thoughts, everything else begins to shift like dominoes. Imagine your brain like a movie projector. The movie it plays is your life. The script inside, your beliefs, your self-talk, controls what you see. If the script says, "I'm not good enough," your mind will find proof for it everywhere. You'll notice every mistake, every failure, and ignore your progress. But when the script says, "I'm capable, I'm growing, I'm proud of how far I've come," your mind starts to project a new film, one filled with hope, confidence, and purpose. Let me give you a real-life story. There was a woman named Aisha. She grew up believing she wasn't smart. Every exam, every conversation, that belief followed her. When she tried to learn English, her inner voice said, "You'll never sound fluent." But one day, she heard something that changed her life. The story you tell yourself will either imprison you or free you. That night, she wrote in her notebook, "I am smart, I am brave, I am learning English with confidence." She repeated it every morning before studying. Slowly, her confidence grew. She started speaking, even with mistakes. Months later, she gave a presentation in English, something she once thought impossible. That's the magic of rewriting your story. You don't need permission from anyone. You don't need to wait for motivation. You simply begin. Every time you say, "I can," even when you don't fully believe it, you are planting a new seed. Water it with action. Feed it with consistency. Protect it with positive self-talk. Soon, the old weeds of doubt will die on their own. And remember, silence doesn't kill doubt. Rewriting does. You can't escape that inner voice, but you can train it. Turn your self-talk from criticism to compassion. When your mind says, "You're too late," answer back, "No, I'm right on time." When it says, "You're not enough," reply, "I'm learning to be more every day." Here's something powerful you can start doing today. Stand in front of a mirror and speak to yourself in English. Say, "I'm proud of myself. I'm becoming better every single day. I am rewriting my story." Don't just say it, feel it. Because the mind doesn't change through logic. It changes through emotion. When you speak with passion, your brain listens. So, from today, become the author of your own life. Your past may have written the first few chapters, but your future, that's in your hands. Every mistake is a comma, not a full stop. Every doubt is a paragraph, not the end of your story. The pen is in your hand now, and it's time to write something legendary. Rule 3. Turn doubt into drive. Transform fear into your strongest fuel. Let's be honest. That inner voice that whispers, "You can't do it," isn't always your enemy. It's scared. It's trying to protect you. But in protecting you, it limits you. It keeps you inside your comfort zone, wrapped in false safety. The truth is, you will never silence that voice completely, but you can teach it to serve you instead of stop you. Every time doubt shows up, it's not a sign that you're weak. It's a signal that you're about to grow. It's your brain's way of saying, we're entering new territory. That fear is the cost of expansion. When you start something new, like learning English, starting a business, or chasing a dream, that little voice immediately rises. It says, you're not ready, or what if you fail? But here's the thing, my friend. Every successful person you admire hears that same voice. The difference is they don't run from it. They use it. They take that fear and convert it into power. They use doubt as a reminder that they are alive, that they are stepping beyond average. The same fire that burns can also give you light. It depends on how you handle it. Think of doubt like a weight in the gym. When you lift it, you feel pain, resistance, and pressure. But that's how strength is built. If you run from it, you stay weak. If you face it, you grow powerful. Every time you act while feeling doubt, you are training your mental muscles. You are telling your mind, I am the master, not you. Let me tell you something true. Fear and faith are built from the same energy, imagination. Fear imagines what could go wrong. Faith imagines what could go right. Both are stories in your head. So why not choose the one that helps you? When your inner voice says, you'll embarrass yourself if you speak English, respond with, or maybe I'll inspire someone who's afraid to try. You can rewrite every doubt into a declaration. Instead of, I can't, say, I'm learning how. Instead of, what if I fail? Ask, what if I fly? Let's go deeper. Your brain doesn't want you to grow because growth feels dangerous. It wants comfort, repetition, and familiarity. That's why every time you try to change, to wake up early, to learn English, to build confidence, your inner voice starts screaming. It's like a guard at the door of change. It says stop, stay where it's safe. But safe is the enemy of growth. Every dream requires courage, and courage only exists when fear is present. You cannot become fearless, but you can become braver than your fear. Here's a small trick I use, and you can try too. Whenever doubt speaks, give it a name. Maybe call it the protector or the old me. And when it starts talking, you'll never make it. You're not fluent. Smile and say, thank you for worrying, but I'm doing this anyway. That simple shift turns your relationship with fear from battle to understanding. You stop fighting it and start leading it. Think about every successful person, athletes, creators, speakers. Before every big moment, they feel that same inner trembling. But instead of letting it stop them, they tell themselves, this feeling means I'm growing. That's the mindset of champions. The fear never disappears. They just move forward with it. And maybe, dear, right now you're sitting there thinking, I'm not like them. But you are. The only difference is that you haven't yet practiced walking with fear. You've listened to it for too long. But now, you're learning to use it as a compass. Because here's the truth. The things that scare you the most often lead to the places where you'll grow the most. The path that makes your heart race? That's usually the one worth taking. When your inner voice says, don't speak English, people will laugh. Do it anyway. When it says, don't post that video, you're not ready, post it anyway. Each time you act, despite doubt, that voice gets quieter. It learns that you are serious, that you're no longer controlled by fear. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be persistent. You see, growth doesn't happen in comfort. It happens when you act with trembling hands and a racing heart. It happens when you say, I'm scared, but I'll do it anyway. That's how confidence is built, not by waiting for the fear to vanish, but by moving through it step by step. And when you finally reach the other side, when you look back at the fear that once controlled you, you'll smile and realize something powerful. The voice of doubt was never trying to destroy you. It was testing you to see how badly you wanted it. It was preparing you to become strong enough to handle your dreams. So, next time that voice speaks, don't hate it. Listen to it, smile at it, and whisper back, I hear you, but I'm going anyway. Because that's what real warriors do. They walk with fear, and they build greatness from it. Rule 4. Rebuild your inner voice. Speak to yourself like someone you love. Let's be honest. Most people talk to themselves in ways they would never talk to someone they care about. If your best friend made a mistake, you tell them, it's okay, you can try again. But when you make a mistake, that cruel little voice inside says, you're so stupid. You always fail. And this is the quiet poison that kills confidence. Not the opinions of others, not failure itself, but the voice you've allowed to live rent-free in your own mind. Think about this, dear. You have been hearing that voice for years. Since childhood, maybe. The teacher who said you weren't good enough. The people who laughed at your accent. The failures that made you feel small. All of them left fingerprints in your mind. Over time, those voices became your own. Now, when you try to step forward, that old programming starts to whisper, don't try, you'll embarrass yourself. But here's the truth. That voice isn't really you. It's a recording of fear. It's echoes of the past, pretending to be your identity. You were born confident. Watch any child. They laugh loudly. They speak without fear. They believe they can do anything. That was you, before the world told you otherwise. The goal isn't to find confidence. It's to remember it. You have to rebuild your inner voice from the ground up, word by word, belief by belief. Start here. Begin talking to yourself like someone you deeply care about. Because think about it. If your inner voice is the one you hear all day, every day, then it becomes the background music of your life. If that music is dark and negative, your energy will always be heavy. But if you change the tune, if you begin to speak with kindness, courage, and belief, everything begins to change. Say to yourself, I am not behind. I am exactly where I'm meant to be. Every mistake is proof that I am learning. My effort matters more than my perfection. These words might sound small, but repeated daily, they rewire the brain. You can literally train your mind to become your ally instead of your enemy. It takes time. You can't erase years of self-doubt in one night. But here's something powerful. Every time you catch that negative thought and choose to replace it, you weaken the old pattern and strengthen the new one. That's how inner transformation happens. Quietly, repeatedly, intentionally. Now let's go deeper. You see, the inner voice is built from your interpretation of the world. When you fail, do you say, I'm not good enough? Or do you say, that was a lesson? When someone criticizes you, do you think, they're right, I'm worthless? Or do you think, that's their opinion, not my truth? The meaning you attach to experiences shapes your identity. You can't control what happens to you, but you can always control what you tell yourself about it. That story becomes your power or your prison. Let's say you're learning English and someone laughs at your pronunciation. The old inner voice says, I'll never be fluent. But your new voice, the one you're building, says, good, I spoke. I'm learning. Every mistake brings me closer to mastery. See the difference? One voice kills your spirit. The other one feeds your growth. You get to choose which one lives. Here's a truth most people don't know. Your mind believes whatever you repeat. It doesn't know the difference between truth and lie, only repetition and emotion. That's why negative self-talk becomes so powerful. If you keep saying, I'm not confident, your brain finds ways to prove it true. But if you begin saying, I'm growing stronger every day, it starts searching for evidence to support that belief instead. It's like training a dog. What you reward gets repeated. What you feed grows. Now imagine, dear, waking up each morning and speaking power into your life, not waiting for someone else to encourage you, but becoming your own motivator. You look in the mirror and say, I'm proud of how far I've come. I am not who I used to be. I'm becoming better. Even if no one sees it yet, I know I'm improving. That's not arrogance. That's healing. That's self-respect. Because if you don't believe in your own worth, no external success will ever fill that void. And I know it's not easy. That inner critic doesn't just disappear. Some days it'll still whisper things that hurt. But remember, your power lies in awareness. The moment you notice the negative thought, you've already separated yourself from it. You are not the voice in your head. You are the listener. You are the observer. And that means you are in control. You can say, "Thank you, voice. I know you're trying to protect me, but I'm not that person anymore. I choose to believe something new." When you do this enough, the old patterns lose power. The fearful voice becomes quieter. And slowly, your inner dialogue begins to sound like this. I can handle this. I trust myself. I deserve to be happy. That's when real growth happens. Not when the world applauds you, but when you start speaking to yourself with love. That's when you become unstoppable. So, dear listener of Fuel for English Life, I want you to make a promise today. No more bullying yourself in your mind. No more calling yourself names. No more letting that cruel voice decide your worth. From today, you become your own coach, your own best friend, your own cheerleader. Because once you master your inner voice, once you make it your ally instead of your enemy, the outside world can no longer break you. No criticism can destroy you. No rejection can define you. You'll walk with quiet power, with a calm confidence that says, "I'm enough, I'm growing, and I'm not done yet." And that, dear friend, is the essence of true strength. When the voice in your head finally says, "You can," that's when you've won. Rule 5. Take imperfect action. Silence doubt through movement. There is one truth most people never understand. You can't think your way out of self-doubt. You have to act your way out of it. The voice that says, "You're not ready, you'll fail," or "What if you embarrass yourself?" It feeds on inaction. The more you wait, the louder it grows. It survives in the silence between your dreams and your effort. But the moment you take even one small action, even a shaky, uncertain step, that voice begins to lose power. Think about it. Doubt is like fog. When you stand still, it surrounds you, blinds you. But when you start moving, even slowly, you realize the fog was never solid. It just looks scary until you walk through it. So many people wait for confidence before they begin. They say, "When I'm ready, I'll start." But the truth is the opposite. You don't become confident before action. You become confident because of action. Confidence is the result, not the requirement. Let me tell you a story. There was once a young man named Arjun. He dreamed of becoming a motivational speaker in English. But every time he tried to record his first video, he froze. His heart raced, his voice cracked, and his mind whispered, "Your English isn't good enough. People will laugh." So he waited. 1 month, 2 months, a year. Then one day, he watched an old man selling coconuts on the street. The man's clothes were torn, his hands were rough, but his smile was radiant. Arjun asked him, "Aren't you tired of doing this every day?" The old man laughed and said, "Of course I am, but waiting won't make life easier. Work will." That sentence hit him like lightning. Waiting won't make life easier. Work will. The next morning, he recorded his video. His pronunciation wasn't perfect. His lighting was bad. He forgot half his lines, but he uploaded it anyway. That first video got 5 views, and 4 of them were his friends. But he kept going. 10 videos later, his voice got clearer. 20 videos later, he spoke with confidence. 50 videos later, people started listening. A year later, the same boy who once doubted his English was inspiring thousands of people across the world, not because he waited for confidence, but because he moved through fear. That's the secret, dear. Action is the medicine for self-doubt. You can read all the motivational quotes in the world. You can journal, meditate, visualize. But if you don't take action, the inner critic will keep winning. Why? Because your brain needs evidence to change its beliefs. When you say, "I can't," your brain believes it, until you do something that proves otherwise. You show up. You speak up. You take that tiny step, and suddenly your mind goes, wait, maybe I can. That's how transformation happens, one uncomfortable action at a time. Let's break it down with a real example. Imagine you're learning English and you're terrified of speaking. You worry people will laugh, so you stay silent, waiting for the perfect moment. But here's the truth. That perfect moment doesn't exist. The only way to stop being scared is to start speaking while scared. Record your voice reading an English paragraph. Join a conversation club and introduce yourself. Talk to a stranger online in English for 5 minutes. You'll stutter. You'll forget words. You'll blush. But after you survive it, and you will, your brain will whisper, see, you didn't die. You survived. You can do it again. And the next time, it'll be easier. And the time after that, even easier. Action creates momentum. Momentum creates belief. Belief silences fear. Let me tell you another powerful truth. Your mind respects evidence more than emotion. You can tell yourself, I'm confident all day, but if you never act, your brain won't believe it. However, if you act while scared, even trembling, your brain starts building a new identity. I'm the kind of person who does things even when afraid. That's true courage. That's the foundation of all greatness. When Thomas Edison failed 1,000 times to create the light bulb, people called him foolish. But he said, I have not failed. I've just found 1,000 ways that won't work. That's the mindset of action. Every mistake, every failure, every rejection, it's all part of the process that silences doubt. Because action transforms fear into fuel. So, dear listener of Fuel for English Life, I want you to remember this. Don't wait for motivation. Don't wait for clarity. Don't wait for confidence. Just move. Start small. Start messy. Start scared. Start anyway. When you take action, even the smallest one, you create a chain reaction in your brain, a spark of pride that says, I did it. That spark grows into a flame of belief, and soon, that flame becomes a fire that burns louder than your inner critic ever could. Every great person you admire, from Elon Musk to Oprah, from Jack Ma to Steve Jobs, had moments of crushing doubt. But they acted anyway. They moved forward while their hands were shaking. That's what made them unstoppable. You see, the biggest lie your inner voice tells you is, wait until you're ready. But life doesn't reward the ready. It rewards the brave. So stop waiting for the perfect plan. Stop waiting for the right timing. Stop waiting for the fear to disappear. The fear won't disappear, but you will grow stronger than it. One day, you'll look back and realize the voice that once said, you can't, has become silent. Not because it vanished, but because you outgrew it. So take that first step today, even if it's small, even if it's messy, even if no one sees it. Do it for you, because your future self is watching, and they're whispering, thank you for being brave enough to begin. Rule 6. Surround yourself with strength, the company that shapes your mind. You can't silence the voice of doubt if you keep living in an environment that keeps feeding it. Every single day, your mind is being programmed by what you see, what you hear, and who you spend time with. Whether you realize it or not, the people around you are either planting confidence or fear inside your soul. If you spend time with people who complain, criticize, and make excuses, then their voices will soon become your own. You'll start thinking small. You'll begin to hesitate. You'll start believing that dreaming big is foolish. That inner voice of doubt will grow stronger not because it's truly yours, but because you've been listening to the wrong ones. But if you spend time with people who believe in growth, who challenge you, who push you to become better, their energy will slowly begin to overwrite that voice of fear. Your thoughts will start to sound like their encouragement. Their belief will become your belief. Let me tell you a story that changed my own mindset forever. There was once a boy named Leo. He was quiet, shy, and full of dreams. But every time he shared them, people laughed. When he said, I want to learn English so I can speak to people around the world. His friends said, You can't even pronounce words properly. When he said, I want to start a YouTube channel, they said, Don't be stupid. Who would watch you? And for a long time, he believed them. Every night he would lie in bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying their words in his head. Maybe they're right, he thought. Maybe I'm not special. Maybe I should stop dreaming. Until one day, something happened. Leo's teacher saw his potential. After class, she said softly, Leo, you have a light inside you. You just need the right people to help it shine. Those words became the spark. Leo began changing his environment, one person, one habit at a time. He stopped spending time with those who made him feel small. He started listening to English podcasts that inspired him. He followed creators who spoke about self-growth, confidence, and language learning. He joined online groups where people practiced English together and lifted each other up. Slowly, the noise of negativity faded, and for the first time, he could hear something new. A softer, kinder voice inside his head whispering, You can do this. You are improving. Keep going. Months passed, and one day Leo stood on stage at a school event and gave a short speech in English. His hands were shaking, his voice trembled. But when he finished, the room erupted in applause. In that moment, he realized the only thing that had truly changed was his environment. The moment he surrounded himself with belief instead of fear, his own belief grew. That's the power of environment, dear. Your surroundings either water your dreams or poison them. If you want to silence the inner voice that doubts you, start by silencing the outer ones that make you doubt yourself. Distance yourself from people who pull you down, who gossip, who make your dreams sound unrealistic. They are not your tribe. They are your test. Instead, seek out people who are on the same journey. People who dream, fail, rise, and keep learning. They don't have to be next to you in real life. They can be authors, speakers, or mentors online. Fill your world with the sound of progress. Read books that teach you how to think bigger. Watch videos that fuel your soul. Join communities that push you to practice English, to communicate, to express your heart. Because the more you immerse yourself in that positive space, the quieter your inner doubts will become. Here's something powerful to remember. Growth is contagious. When you watch someone break their limits, something inside you whispers, If they can, I can too. Think about the people you admire. Maybe it's Jack Ma, who learned English by talking to tourists in Hangzhou, or Oprah Winfrey, who rose from poverty to become a global icon. They didn't just succeed because they were gifted. They succeeded because they refused to let negative voices define them. And they built an environment that helped them rise. And that's what Fuel for English Life is all about. Our community isn't just about learning English. It's about learning strength. Every time you listen, every time you repeat a phrase, every time you push yourself to practice, you are building a new environment inside your mind. You're surrounding yourself with courage, with purpose, with discipline. When you change what you consume, you change what you become. Your inner voice learns from what it hears most often. If you feed it fear, it will speak fear. If you feed it hope, it will speak power. So feed it wisely. Surround yourself with voices that speak to your potential, not your past. With people who talk about possibilities, not problems. With stories that remind you of what's possible, not what's missing. Because the truth is, your inner voice is just a reflection of your environment. When you fill your life with belief, the voice of doubt has no space left to grow. And one day, you'll notice something miraculous. You'll wake up and look in the mirror and realize that soft, uncertain whisper in your head has transformed. It no longer says, "You're not good enough." Now it says, "Let's do this. Let's go further. You've got this." And when that day comes, you'll understand. You didn't just silence the inner critic. You replaced it with a leader, the leader you were always meant to become. Rule 7. Rewrite the story. Turn doubt into your greatest power. There comes a point in everyone's journey when silence isn't enough. You can't just quiet the voice of doubt, you have to rewrite it. You have to teach it new lines, give it new meaning, and make it work for you instead of against you. Because that inner voice will never fully disappear. It will always whisper from the shadows. You can't do this. You're not ready. You'll fail. But when you master your mind, when you train yourself to rise again and again, that same voice becomes your greatest teacher. It becomes fuel. Let me tell you something that few people understand. Every successful person you've ever admired still has that inner voice of doubt. The difference is, they've learned how to use it. They don't run away from fear, they listen, they learn, and then they lead. Think about Thomas Edison, the man who failed over 1,000 times before inventing the light bulb. Do you think he never doubted himself? Of course he did. But instead of letting that voice stop him, he answered it. When his mind said, "You failed again," he replied, "No, I've just found another way that doesn't work." That's the power you have too. You can't erase the inner voice, but you can educate it. You can teach it that mistakes are not weakness, that slow progress is still progress, and that discomfort means growth. So how do you rewrite your story? It starts with awareness. The next time your inner critic says, "I'm not good enough," don't just accept it. Stop, breathe, and ask, who told me that? Was it a teacher who laughed when you mispronounced a word? A friend who said you'd never speak English fluently? A family member who told you dreams are for other people, not for you? Their words may have planted the seed of doubt, but you are the one watering it. Now it's time to plant something new. Every day, replace those thoughts with stronger ones. Say, "I'm still learning, and that's okay. I'm not behind, I'm building. I'm not too late, I'm just getting started." Repeat it in your heart until your mind starts to believe it. Because here's a truth that will set you free. Confidence isn't the absence of doubt, it's the decision to move forward despite it. Let's make this real with a story about you. Imagine it's early morning, the world is quiet. You open your notebook, ready to study English. The first thought that hits you, "I don't feel ready today." The second, "I'll never be fluent." But then something shifts. You remember what we talk about here, on Fuel for English Life. You take a deep breath. You smile and say softly, "Not today, doubt. I'm writing a new story." You open your notes, you start reading aloud, you make mistakes, but this time you don't stop. You laugh, you keep going. That small moment, that's how transformation begins. Because every time you act in spite of doubt, your new story grows stronger. Every time you speak, even when you're scared, your confidence gets louder. And every time you rise after falling, your inner voice learns a new truth. You are unstoppable. Dear listener, your life is not written in ink, it's written in actions. Every choice, every thought, every brave moment is another sentence in your story. If your old story was filled with fear, write a new one filled with courage. If your past was full of mistakes, fill your future with lessons. The pen has always been in your hand. The voice that once doubted you can now serve you. You can make it say, "Yes, this is hard, but I've been through harder. Yes, I'm scared, but I've survived every fear so far. Yes, I've failed, but that's how I learn." That's what rewriting your story really means. Taking control of your inner dialogue and turning every limitation into language of power. Here's the final truth, dear. The mind that once said, "I can't," can become the same mind that says, "I will." The fear that once froze, you can become the fuel that frees you. And the inner voice that once doubted you can become the loudest cheerleader in your life. Because confidence isn't built in a day. It's built in every quiet decision to keep going when no one's watching. When you speak, even when your accent feels heavy. When you learn one more new word instead of scrolling your phone. When you choose discipline over comfort. That's how you silence doubt. Not with noise, but with action. Not with shouting, but with steady progress. So remember this. The next time that voice whispers, "You can't," smile and say, "Watch." Every episode here isn't just about English. It's about life, mindset, and becoming the strongest version of yourself. You're not just learning a language. You're learning power. You're learning confidence. You're learning how to rewrite the story inside your mind. And if that journey inspires you, don't keep it to yourself. Hit that subscribe button right now and join our family at Fuel for English Life. Because here, every word you learn builds your mind, your future, and your destiny. Remember, silence the doubt, rewrite your story, and speak your truth. You were born to be heard.